I have a couple of big decisions I have to make on how to move forward with this pond renovation project. So while I'm working on this today, I want to show you guys what I'm dealing with and maybe get some advice on how to move forward. Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farm, and today we're going to start putting the finishing touches on the pond renovation. And I have a big decision to make about how I'm going to finish this out. A lot of you guys are telling me to put riprap on all these banks, and that's going to come down to cost viability. What I hope to accomplish today is lining the island with riprap and then leaving some riprap over there for when we cut out this. And then I want to plant our grass seed up on the island and over here and just see how far we can get. But the main thing I want to do today is find out if the suggestion that you guys are always giving me is financially viable. A lot of you have been asking me about this because I've been showing it in the videos, but haven't been talking about it. It's an awesome product. I think it's called Torque Jack, but I'd have to look that up to find out for sure. But I'll put a link in the video description where you can pick one up if you want it. This is one of those things that I wasn't sure about. When I got an email asking me if I wanted one of these, I said, I don't know. I don't know if it's practical or not. Will it be a pain because the battery's always dead in the drill and I don't like using it, or is it gonna be super convenient? And I love this thing. Before I had one, I didn't know if I would actually be willing to buy one, but now that I do, it's a game changer. And the price, when you first see it, you'll think that's too high, but now that I've had it, I would spend that on it. This will be my first time actually going to pick up stone in the new dump trailer. This is a 7x16 Liberty dump trailer, American made, commercial grade. I've been using it a ton here on the property to haul stone down to the pond, move dirt. I did a firewood delivery. And today, it's making its first trip to the wood yard. I'm about to start talking about the price of this stone, and it sounds like I'm saying it's too expensive. And really, I think I'm getting a very fair rate on the rock, and it's pretty reasonable when you look at the cost to buy one trailer load of stone. But then when you see how far that much stone goes on my project and how much stone it would take me to do the entire project, it becomes very expensive. Much more so than I initially thought. But we'll get into more of that pricing as we go along. Boy, my day took a heck of a turn. I just thought I was doing some simple work here, spreading stone and grass seed and things like that, and I left home about 4 hours ago to get that stone, and I'm just now getting here with it. My truck broke down, went into limp mode. I had to disconnect from my trailer and leave it parked, and I found a diesel shop that I could limp it to, and after a couple hours there, it turned out I had a faulty ground. And that was it. But I had every warning light you could ever have, and the truck wouldn't move. It was a bad ordeal. I thought I'm out several $1,000s here that I don't really have, and it ended up just being a bad ground wire. This stone was $130 for this little bitty pile. Now there's probably people watching this saying, oh, that's cheap, or what's wrong with that? But I'm thinking about how far that's gonna go on this project, and the answer is not far at all. And I don't know, I don't think I can see myself spending thousands of dollars on this. But just bringing that first bucket load of rocks over makes it obvious I can't just sit here and dump that. I'm gonna have to set bigger rocks down here and pack those in to stop the small rocks from rolling down. So my intention was to go over and get large riprap, but they didn't have what I wanted, and what they did have was twice as expensive. In general, it's my nature to try to do everything as cheap or as close to free as I can, reuse materials, salvage materials, and I don't think normally about the best way to do it. I think about what can I do to make this affordable so that I can accomplish more than my budget would allow. So as we look at the cost of the different sizes of riprap that I can buy, the alternative is I have basically an unlimited amount of free sandstone. Now, technically it's not free because I'm investing my time, I'm depreciating my machines, and I'm burning fuel to harvest that sandstone. But comparatively, it is very affordable for me to pull this sandstone off of the top of Rock Hill. And it also serves a second function in clearing my trail off and improving the top half of the property at the same time. The downside of the sandstone is that it has that brown look to it as opposed to that much cleaner white limestone. And, you know, that's not necessarily the only deciding factor, but it is a factor. The other thing is, you're getting irregular shapes, irregular sizes, and maybe even sharp edges on some of the sandstone, whereas the limestone is going to be more uniform. So what you're seeing now might be part of the answer to this question. I initially wanted to go buy the 18-inch to 24-inch riprap because I think that would do the best job of erosion control and it would let the fewest amount of weeds up through the rock. But that rock cost twice as much, and I wasn't fully committed to the way I want to do this, so I bought this smaller rock as a test. But what I'm thinking the best solution might be is to use this large sandstone down below the water line, because normally the pond will be full most of the way up to where the excavator's sitting right now. You will never see the stone that I'm setting right now. And so one good solution might be to use the sandstone 2/3 or maybe halfway up the slope, and then fill with the riprap the rest of the way up. Now, you might be wondering why I'm doing this at all, and all of my comments up to this point have been telling me that I should surround a large portion of my pond with this stone because it prevents erosion, and it blocks the weeds, and it makes maintenance easier, and I kind of agree with all those points, so I'm going to try to do it. Now the debate is, do I just do it right here around the island, or do I do the entire pond? So at some quarries, there might be different options. I'm actually sure that there are different options. But at the quarry I get my rock from, my only choices are this stone that is listed as 4 to 8 inches, or you can get
18 to 24 inch. And I'd really like to have something in between, but it's the only yard that is really close to me, and there's never any waiting. It's super convenient to get, and usually in the past it's been the most affordable. So I'm basing all my information off of that. Now this section of the island is about 20 feet, and this 5-ton load did the 20 feet, and then there was still some left. Now this was $130, but it would have been about $250 if I'd gotten the larger stone. So let's think about those numbers and extrapolate it across the entire area that I want to cover with rock. So everywhere you see the red line on this overhead picture of the pond is areas that have very steep banks that are hard to maintain. And part of that is this pond is right up against my neighbor's fence, our fence that separates the two properties. And it's hard to do much over there. And I'm trying to improve that, but it's not an easy process. So those areas where the red line is where I'd like to put this stone. Now that entire circumference of this half-acre pond is 500 feet of pond bank. But that area with the red line is about 225 feet. If you figure a load that costs $250 does 20 feet, and you multiply that out, I'd need 12 loads at $250 a load, you'd be looking at around $3,000. And I just can't invest $3,000 into fixing this pond bank. So I've spent the entire day talking to friends and brainstorming this problem that I have about how to handle these pond banks. And I think the answer I've come up with is to cover halfway up on all of the areas with the red line with the large sandstone, and then put this smaller stone that cost half as much the rest of the way up. The large stone would stop the erosion and hold the small stone in place, and the white stone would be what you would see, and it would be more aesthetically pleasing. And I'm thinking I might only have to spend $1,000 on small stone, maybe even less than that.
So now we got the riprap spread over there, and I've saved a pile of it because I've got to cover from here to here after I dig this out. So I'm going to save some of that. But the two things I have left to do now is get our grass seeds spread and then try to figure out my plan for the concrete. I've got this concrete here that's a problem. I've got new concrete I've got to do over there to anchor in the new bridge, and I'm not sure how to do it. I'm hoping you guys can give me some advice here. I actually had to walk behind cedar, and I went up there to get that seed spreader, and it's broken, and I couldn't fix it tonight. So I'm going to hand spread this tonight. I'll have to get another cedar.
I really wanted to wait to put down this grass seed until I was done with the project, because if this grass comes up, we might tear it up. But also, we're coming into winter, and right now it's way, way warmer than it normally is this time of year, and there's a little bit of rain, but not too much in the forecast. And with the temperatures in the 70s and that little bit of rain, I might be able to get some grass to come up and root just a little bit before winter comes in. And then all through winter and spring, we'd be better set up. And that's why I decided to go ahead and put this down, even though I might track across it.
So I had one hay bale that didn't wrap right and was just left in the field up there. And I brought that down here and spread it on top of that roll of straw. So I put down the straw blanket on top of the grass seed, and then I put this bale of hay on top of that. Over here, we've got the riprap, 2 layers of this straw, the grass seed under that. Now let's look at the island. I did this big concrete pad. That's in good shape. Over here, I buried concrete blocks. Then I wrapped rebar around this frame and ran that rebar down into the concrete. So there are 4 concrete blocks anchoring this, and I think it should have been more substantial because originally my island was out here, now it's back here, so we're not setting on that much. So I piled more material here, I piled more material here, and I'm going to cut it back there. But I don't want to run the risk of erosion underneath our other bridge. So I've got those piers set, and the bridge will set on those, but then on each end, the bridge also needs to set on something. And this is a stake marking where it was at, and I was going to peel just a little bit of this top of this material off, and it broke off a huge chunk. I'm already killing my island. I'm gonna run a bridge from over there to over here, and on both ends, I need to be able to build some kind of a concrete box like that. But if it's just on the end, the material under it can erode off, and it could fall in 5 years from now. So I'm thinking about digging a couple of big holes, like back here and back here, like 3 foot, 4 foot deep post holes, like if I was putting in a mailbox, and then building a box on top of the ground, and then pouring concrete on this entire square, just like that, and the bridge will set on it, pouring concrete on this whole square, but having that square be attached to these 2 deeper holes of concrete, and then running rebar down into that up through the top pad. So I've got a decision to make there, and on that side, I've got a bank that slopes like this, and I need something to set my bridge on. And I'm thinking I might have to form out like a box, a big box, and pour that whole box full of concrete, because I don't know how else to have a place to set the end of the bridge.
Well, I'm really thrilled with the way this project is going. There's just a couple decisions I have to make, and I look forward to reading your comments on if you think I'm doing things the right way or if there's something I should change. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.